It was Friday, January 29th, 2010. Jessica Lloyd was late for work that morning, and no one knew why. The sunny, steady young woman who worked as a school bus coordinator had never pulled a no-show before. Her supervisor called her mom to tell her. Her mom called her son Andy, Jessica's brother.
Just flat out came out and said Jess is missing, and that everything's at her house and she's not here and she didn't show up for work, and that was all she knew.
What on earth was going on? There was no way their Jess, as they called her, would have taken off without alerting them.
She wouldn't do that to her work, and she wouldn't do that to me, and she wouldn't do that to my mom.
Andy rushed to join his mom and the friends and relatives gathering at Jess's house. It's a small, tidy house by a field just outside Belleville. Faces a highway that runs right past Ann Marson Cook's home and on into Tweed. Jess's car was parked outside. Inside the house, her bed was made, and her personal stuff was still there.
A 27-year-old woman wouldn't leave behind her BlackBerry, her purse, her makeup, her wallet, her car key, her house keys.
They called everyone they could think of. Learned she'd watched TV at a friend's house the night before, and when she'd left, she'd gone straight home, texting the friend at 10:36 p.m. to say she was home and going to bed. That was the last anyone heard from Jess Lloyd, the young woman who loved to yuck it up playing the video game Guitar Hero. The Jess Lloyd who had a ton of friends, but no current boyfriend. The sister who loved to crack wise with her older brother.
You know, I'd call her a name and she'd have a better one right there waiting.
But where was she now?
It's just a mystery, an absolute mystery, and nobody could come up with any answers.
They didn't wait long to call the police.
She was reported to us missing at noon on the Friday.
Corey McMullen is the chief of the Belleville Police Service.
And with the information that the family provided us, that we realized that it had the potential to be a very serious case.
When the police arrived, along with the forensics people, Andy Lloyd says he and his cousins went outside, with police permission, to scout the grounds around the house. No idea that what he was about to discover would not just break the case, but send a shockwave right across the country. The first thing, says Andy, the footprints.
There was a couple different ones in the backyard.
He called in to the cops working in the house.
I just said there's footprints in the backyard, might better go look at them. And instantly they told us we'll stay away from them.
So Andy and his cousins headed over to the field by Jess's house, took a walk around, and that's when they found them, the tire tracks. Tire tracks where they shouldn't be.
We saw them come right off the road, so then instantly we thought there's been a strange vehicle next door.
Andy says they went straight to the cops with this, too. And then the investigating officers were handed another clue from one of their own. Because the night before, about 9:30 p.m., while Jess Lloyd was at that friend's house, an observant member of the Belleville police force just happened to notice an SUV parked in the field by her house.
There was an officer who was on regular patrol and thought there was something suspicious.
Just driving along Highway 37
just driving
there.
along, yep.
The truck was sitting in somebody's backyard?
It was in a field, and the officer stopped and knocked on the door and checked the house, and nobody was home. And took detailed notes. Yeah, took detailed notes of the vehicle and carried on.
But the officer's notes were not quite as complete as they might have been. She left out some rather significant details. The SUV's make and its license number. Though it may not have seemed so important at the time, after all, nobody was home. There was no evidence of any crime. So, imagine how it was when the officer learned that Jessica Lloyd was missing.
Obviously, it's upsetting. It's going to be upsetting to anyone, but this officer went above and beyond, and we're very proud of her.
At what point after Jessica Lloyd went missing did she say, hey, I saw that SUV?
As soon as she became aware that Jessica was missing from that residence, she immediately came forward with the information.
That weekend, Andy Lloyd was running on coffee and cigarettes and urgent hope, out searching every day.
It was overwhelming how many people, just volunteers, who showed up. And there was police officers everywhere.
But no Jessica. Not a word, not a call, not a hint of her whereabouts. Chris Millett of the local newspaper, The Intelligencer.
I remember what I was thinking at the time. I don't think this is going to end well.
He couldn't know it then. No one could. But the mystery of Jess Lloyd's disappearance would be solved in a matter of days. Her case and the other unsolved crimes, the Marie-France Como murder, the sex assaults in Tweed, the break-in at Ann Mars and Cook's place, and before that, at Brenda and Brian's Orleans home, finally pulled into one horrific vortex. And the outcome would stun not just the small city of Belleville and the communities around it, but a nation, coast to coast.
I was blown away. I just couldn't take it all in at first.